Hey Last Looks crew, welcome to our annual Last Looks Oscars special episodes where I interview all 5 teams nominated for their outstanding work. This is the 96th Annual Academy Awards. The awards will be held March 10th at the Dolby Theatre in Hollywood. Every team is asked the same set of questions, but of course they all give very different answers. Every year, the work is excellent, and this year is no different. I want to take a quick moment to thank all our Last Look sponsors. You truly help keep this little beast of a show going, and for that, I am forever grateful. If you would like to support the podcast, it's as easy as buying us a coffee. And when I say us, I mean me. Don't be fooled in thinking there is a team of podcast elves helping. You can find a link in the show notes of any of these episodes if you would like to show your love and support. My name is Jamie Lee, a film hairstylist living in Long Beach, and this is the Last Looks podcast, a show where I catch up with hairstylists and makeup artists working in the film and TV industries around the world. And today, in these Oscars special episodes, I'm speaking with all 5 Oscar-nominated teams for their outstanding work. Let's do this.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Tablet Palette is the first and only resealable, customizable, and compostable beauty palette. It's the perfect solution for glam on the go and touch-ups. No more wasted foundation from your mixing palette. Keep the excess fresh for touch-ups by putting it into a sealed tab. Actor bags stay organized and lightweight with Tablet. You can pre-fill them, which makes it easy for a day player or second-unit artists to keep each look consistent for continuity. Skip the messy wax paper. Hand out tabs to your background talent to use throughout the day. Tired of giving away lipsticks? Mix up custom lip color and put it in a tab for your client to take on the go and keep your products in your kit. Tablet is perfect for travel. You can cut it to fit a TSA-approved bag. Visit tabletpalette.com to order your resealable, compostable tablet palettes now. That's tablettePalette.com. Use code LASTLOOKS for 25% off.
And now, our feature presentation.
Pictures up.
Last looks. Rolling.
And action.
Welcome to the Last Looks podcast team.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Congratulations on your Oscar nomination for your work on the film Maestro.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very welcome. And the work being considered for Maestro is makeup and hairstyling for the overall film. So if you could each tell us your name and what your position on the film was.
Yeah, my name is Kazuhiro, and I was a prosthetic makeup designer for Leonard Bernstein look on Bradley Cooper.
My name is Lori McCoy-Bell, and I was Bradley Cooper's personal hairstylist.
And my name's Kay Giorgio, and I was the hair designer and hair department head for the movie Maestro.
Awesome. So I would love to know, when you heard the news that you had been nominated, what was the first thought that came to mind?
Of course, it was a great honor. And I was happy because I'm friend with David and Monse from DDT, and they worked on the Society of the Snow.
Oh, brilliant.
And so I was happy they were nominated.
Yeah.
And also thinking about that tuxedo. I have to press it,
When I first heard the news that we were nominated for the Oscar, I was quite in shock, actually, and of the feeling, the overwhelming feeling of people, being actually recognized for your work. Mm-hmm. And like Kazu had said, I was also so happy for everyone else that was nominated. And I was wondering what they were feeling too. So I'm just honored to be part of this elite group of 5 that they've chosen. And all of it is such great work.
I don't remember what my first exact thought was, but I do remember feeling really, really happy and thinking, oh God, it's going to be a great day. And then the next thing I thought was, I wonder if Jimmy, Jameson and Amanda know, who are the co-workers that we all did the film together. So they were in my department, and I thought how thrilled they would be. And as both Kazu and Laurie have said, it's such an honor and a privilege to come this far. And I thought they would be so excited. And, you know, because it was a team effort and they did such great work. And of course, later on that day, we were all texting with each other, and it was lovely. It was very elating.
Oh, brilliant. And then, as Kazu said, the next thing you're thinking about is, what am I going to wear?
Yes. I'm going to wear a tuxedo.
All going to wear tuxedos. That'd be perfect.
Yes.
It's so true. I need to get a dress for real.
Everyone's going on a diet except for Kazu because he's skinny. And then we're all going to wear tuxedos.
Perfect. I love it. That would be quite amazing. So if you could talk us through 3 of the characters from the film, makeup and hair-wise, from research and development through to daily application. Kazu and Laurie, I assume you will cover Bradley Cooper's character, and Kay, a couple of characters you'll like to cover as well.
Yeah, okay. So Bradley Cooper first contacted me was, I think, end of 2019 by text. And he was asking me if I'm interested in this project. And of course I wanted, because, you know, once I heard about this project, Maestro, Leonard Bernstein was a big inspiration for me since I started my job, which is like almost 36 years ago. And, you know, I wanted to do a film about him someday. You know, in my head, I was thinking about it. And finally, it came true after 36 years. And so, because I was so fascinated by his face, and he has a look very, you know, iconic and a very interesting look too. And also who he was a really, you know, big inspiration to the musician and of course any other artist. So I jumped on it, and, you know, COVID started, and I finally met him first time. That was 2020, August. And, you know, before that, of course, I gathered lots of references, DVD, video, and books, and photograph over the internet. And he was most documented person, one of the most documented persons. So I could gather like maybe 1,600 photographs. And I read the script beforehand and broke down the all stages, and that ended up like 5 different stages. And I did live cast and a scan with him, and a body scan, and started to design. And I think first test we did was end of 2020 at my place. And from there, we did a film test at the Disney Concert Hall. And then that was the first film test. And then we did another test before the filming. It was a Technicolor studio. And then we went into the filming. And so that was kind of like many years, because it's COVID was, you know, still happening for a long time. And we were supposed to start the filming in 2021. But at the end, we started 2022, May in New York. So the, like a first element he asked me to make was a nose plug, because I had to widen his nose anyway, because Leonard Bernstein has a big nose. And I made a nose plug for him. And he was also talking about Leonard Bernstein had a deviated septum. So I made a nose plug to change the airflow of his nose. So it kind of muffled nasal voice and helped him, because he spent so much time to train his voice to change to Leonard Bernstein. And it was interesting, because every time I get a phone call, he was doing Lenny's voice.
Oh, wow.
And then I believe he used that nose plug in Nightmare Alley, like a last scene.
Oh.
Yeah, I was joking, like if I can get the credit for that. But
Nice
in the
try.
movie, yeah. But so the originally I was supposed to be working with a few more makeup artists to shorten the application. But after test and the first few days of filming, he called me and, can you do application by yourself? And so I said, okay, it might take a little longer though. And he said, that's fine, because he needed the space, because he was doing a director, co-writer, and the producer and the acting at the same time. So morning time for him at a few hours, because youngest stage took about 2 hours and 30 minutes. And the next stage about 2 hours. And the third, fourth stage was 3 hours or 3 hours, 30 minutes. And last stage was 5 hours. And so he needed space to get ready for the filming. And our call time was always before the actual makeup finish time, was right before the crew call, because he wanted to show up to set as Lenny to set up the shooting. It was kind of, that will make our call time 2 hours earlier than normal, at least. And youngest stage, I had to make him younger, because he was supposed to be around 25 years old. So I put the temple lift and the cheek lift, and he had the nose piece and the upper lip and lower lip and chin piece, and then Lolly put a wig on. And the second stage was the same piece, but Lolly put a little bit behind to make him look older too. And the third stage was different piece, but adding to those pieces, I put the cheek piece and earlobes and neck piece, and he had a bald cap. And then Lolly put the wig on. And the fourth stage was additional forehead piece and the eyebrow hair piece. Then the last stage had, I think, 14 pieces.
Oh, wow.
Cover up whole head.
Yeah.
And arm had the 2 pieces, top and bottom, and also body suits. So we had to change his body shape. And so that took the longest, of course. That's what I did. And it was kind of really hard every day. Especially hard one was last stage, and that was the first one we shot on the whole schedule.
Okay.
Because a week before the filming start, I got COVID, and so
Perfect.
Originally we supposed to start the youngest first, but they had to change the schedule to shoot that. And so our call time was like 1 a.m. probably. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Laurie, do you want to talk about all the wigs used?
Sure. Yeah. Kazoo had 5 different stages, and I had 4 different wigs. So one of the wigs I used for, used again. So my youngest stage was basically just a toupee. It's just a small toupee that brought down his forehead to have the Leonard Bernstein feel to him, his hairline on him. And what I would do, I would just temporarily color Bradley's gray hair to make it look younger and rich and blend it all together so Bradley looked younger than he is in actual years. And another stage for me was the same wig, but I left his gray hair out and I added some gray to his hair, and we also added some to his temples. And that was during the, I guess, black and white portion of the film. So then we go into another stage, which was my stage 2, which was, might have been different with Kazoo's thing, but stage 2 was a 3/4 wig. Originally, we made the wigs in 2 pieces, and we were going to use a back piece that I would put on so it could hug the neck better, and then I would place the 3/4 piece over that. And we decided not to use the bottom pieces for that, and we left his natural hair out, which then I colored with real color aging palettes to put in the amount of gray and white that we needed to match whatever era we were on. that was a 3/4 bald cap too. So that was really, really nice and easy to put on. And, I used Super Baldies, which, was amazing and good to work, obviously, with prosthetic pieces. The next stage, his hair was grayer, maybe a little bit thinner. And we also used the back of his nape, his own hair. And I just changed, the amount of color to blend in with the wig. It was whiter, still a 3/4 bald cap Kazu put on. And our last stage, which is the longest stage, was actually a full wig where we did use both pieces of the wig. And I would place the nape on first and get that all glued down onto a full, bald cap, and then place the other one on top. I spent a lot of time. I would come in about an hour to 2 hours before he came to my chair, and I would make sure, under my magnifying mirror, I would just sit there and I would pull each hair in the direction that I wanted it to lay. And so when I put that thing on, there was no time to dress it after. It was like fully dressed, put it on, and glued out the door he went, because it was such early calls. And like, Kazu said, he needed to be on set, wanted to be on set, ready to go in full mode, full Leonard Bernstein mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I found that was very helpful to come in early, and I'd give myself plenty of time in case, I needed to do something or something overnight didn't set the way that I wanted to. I had time to correct it, but I spent a lot of my prep time before, which is probably the most I've spent on a film or on a wig beforehand. They don't give us that time in this business. You got 18-minute setup time. You beg for a half an hour setup time. If you're putting a wig on, so I was lucky to have that time. And I think that really, really helped. I don't know how I'm ever going to, want to do a wig, just slap it on without doing what I had gone through before. But,
ruined you for life.
It's awesome. We'll cross that bridge when that comes. You know how hard that is, Jamie, to, get this wig on in the time that they allow. Anyways,
Absolutely.
So that's basically it. I use a lot of real color palettes and natural wave in those wigs when I set them at night.
Beautiful. And Kay, who would you like to talk about?
I guess the main character would have been Carrie, who played Felicia Bernstein.
Yeah.
All of our characters, though, the story takes place over 4 decades. So first of all, there was the research, which there was copious amounts of research. When I came on board, the family had supplied a lot of family photographs, as well as already Kazu has said, Leonard Bernstein was so photographed, so documented. So there were some photographs of his family that were available to the public, but we also had access to a private collection, which was obviously incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
There was also some bits of information which his children provided. Jamie and Alex were saying that their mother changed their hairstyle very frequently, especially in her sort of like middle-aged years. She would come home with different colored hair and a different hairstyle. And it was a choice not to actually do that with our Felicia, with Carrie, because I think it can be very confusing if you change someone's hair too often, and it changed enough as it was. So for Felicia, I ended up having 4 wigs made, though there was a combination of wigs and her own hair. So for her younger looks, when she's darker and they first meet, it was wigs that we used. And then as the story progresses, it was in the 50s, I started using her own hair, which I dyed and colored to match a kind of period-looking blonde that was a color that Felicia went to. There's a lot of documentation of her with that swept up do that's blonde. And then as she aged and got older, I went back into using wigs again for her older looks, where her hair was shorter. And it was still kind of blonde, but it wasn't nearly as attractive. The blonde wasn't, it was like a very dyed looking blonde. And as well as Felicia, several of the characters, the children, Jamie and Alex, and, many of the characters through the story, David Oppenheim, Aaron Copeland, Betty and Adolph Green, Shirley Bernstein, they all age. We see all of them in each of the decades. Not necessarily all of the decades, but we do see them age. And so the characters that I had in wigs, and let it be said now that Bradley was not a fan of using wigs. He really wanted to use whoever's own hair we could get away with using. that's exactly what we did. Sometimes it wasn't possible. So there were quite a few wigs that needed to be used. And sometimes we just had to adapt the wig that was, fitted on a younger character and change the style for that same character, but when they were older. And it's the same with the children. The children, obviously, there were 3 children, and some of the children, when they were younger, they had longer hair. And as they grew up, their hair got long and then it got short. And, and that was done mainly with extensions. But I think for us, the biggest challenge for the hair department was actually the fact that the story took place over several decades and having to change them. And part of our shooting schedule meant that sometimes a character that was perhaps we would only see in the 40s, and we were never supposed to see them in the 60s, then it would be decided that we would see them in the 60s. So we had to find a way to make them look older, but we wouldn't necessarily have had a wig made for them or anything, because the plan was never to see them in that later part of the film. So that was definitely a challenge.
Absolutely.
And usually you spend the first 10 minutes saying, but they weren't supposed to be in this bit.
It's like, yep.
And nobody listens to you. It's like, yeah, we'll get over that and now figure out how to do it.
And you did figure it out. So that's awesome. I love it. So each year, the nominated films showcase such a wonderful range of work. So how do you guys feel your work differs from your fellow nominees? Tricky question.
Isn't it? I think for me, it's, this film covers almost 50 years of a range of from him 25 to 71, and at the same time involved the likeness of Leonard Bernstein. So that was quite different. And I'm so obsessed with the human face. So I like the portraiture. So I think that's a big difference, just to get the both thing right, like aging authentically, because it's not that far in between the stages, almost like 10 years of each. So you have to have a smooth transition. And also I wanted to make more like really age him rather than kind of, like most of the film, like in Hollywood movie, they tend to make it too subtle. And that doesn't look like they aged or they are not young enough for the age. So that was an important part, and also incorporate the likeness, I think.
Awesome.
I don't know. That's a tricky one, isn't it? It's a very difficult question. Laurie, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, no, I think with the nominees this year, you can't really compare. They're all at the top of their game. I mean, you have like Society of the Snow, which was a period film that beautifully done. The hair I thought was great. The snow in the hair, I'm just talking hair now, but the degrading over time, like I found it fascinating, and you can't really compare that with like Maestro in a way, because Maestro was that character, like Kazu said, from 25 to 71 and so many prosthetic pieces on. And then you have like Poor Things, which I don't know how you get extensions as long as her hair was, And, Oppenheimer, of course, that was period, and that took over time, and you had lots of characters that you had to make look like them in the best way that you could. And Golda, like, was well done as well. And, like all well done. All these movies are so well done in their own way. And and all of them different art. Yeah.
Beautifully said. Now, what did you find to be your biggest challenge during filming?
I think Bradley was such a perfectionist, and that part was a biggest challenge to make him, happy about, our work. And even Kay said, Bradley, he doesn't like a wig. So the beginning of the discussion when I designed it, and so we had a long conversation about about the wig. And so I asked him, okay, what do you think? What was the best wig in the film industry? And he said, the darkest hour. Okay. All right. So, I designed that wig. So, okay, all right, I got your point. So let me work on it because, like a hairstyle, is, I think the hairline is a part of the design of the likeness too.
Yeah.
So, that if that is off, everything fall apart. Hair is such an important part of the whole look because it's almost like a last part of framing the face, and that would decide the proportion of the face too. So that was
I think
important.
That's so right, Kazu. I think what you said is so right. Like the hairline, if that's not right, it can throw everything off, can't it? Throws everything off balance.
Yeah.
And the wig especially male wig is so hard because they tend to look too thick. So the density is important. And as they age, they should start the texture and the density of the hair. And he was really keen on the likeness and the believability. So that was like a biggest challenge to see how I see and to see how he sees the face. Yeah. That was, collaboration. He's a great collaborator, he was. But that was a kind of biggest challenge on this show, I would say.
Yeah. He is quite a perfectionist, and Kazu is too, and I am too, so I think we made a really great team. I wanted to say something about the wig. I know that Bradley did have to look at himself in the mirror and believed it, and looked at it and was comfortable. Totally comfortable. We fussed a little bit about those earlier year toupee that I put on him, and we made sure that we made a part in his hair where the part of that hair was so you can see, the scalp through it. And I actually ended up putting some real color on a brush and painting, just kind of dabbing here and there to show that you saw some skin actually on the lace in the part, and that seemed to make it more believable in his eyes. Don't you think, Kazu? Having the part there was 100% better for him. And
the Lenny had actually bigger hair, but for the movie, he wanted to kind of tighten down to fit his face too. Yeah. So we spent a lot of time to figure out what would be the good, a length of the hair so it won't look too big. Too.
Right.
So,
and we had to play that. We had to just figure that out. What's believable on screen, what's comfortable for Bradley, what he sees in his eyes, what Kazu sees in his eyes. And every time he's like, can cut a little bit more. And I would look at Kazu and we would, what do you think? Wigs don't go as we go. A puffy wig you probably want to stay away from on a man because it does read wig. It is very difficult. It's more difficult on a man.
I think that's right.
To put a wig on a man, I think, than a woman. Just believable, guys, because that nape and it's always short and, But the wigs were beautifully made by Diana Choi. That's who Kazu had designed with, and it fit like a glove.
That's awesome. Kay, what was your biggest challenge?
I think exactly what both Kazu and Laurie have said. Bradley is a real perfectionist, and that didn't just stop at Lenny. It extended itself throughout the looks for everyone in the film. Yeah. And so, if it passed the Bradley test, then it went on camera. But I think that was one of the biggest challenges.
And he doesn't miss a thing.
He doesn't miss a thing.
Yeah. He's 100%. He doesn't miss a thing. And he remembers. It's and
I actually really love that in a director.
And it's not. It doesn't stop at makeup and hair. It's costumes. It's sets. It's everything. He's including of himself. I think he's just he's a perfectionist. He's critical in a good way.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was kind of excited about that too because I like the high demanding people to work with. So there's one time, because I was putting on a lip piece on him, and he said, "Oh, this feels different from yesterday." And so during, once we started filming, Vincent van Dyke was running a piece for me, and really at the Vincent shop, who was responsible for running. And so I kind of go back and forth asking to keep the bodies on the surface as thin as possible, because I have to seal on the top of it, because he was sweating, and I have to stay all day.
Yeah.
And so it took a few weeks to settle down to where we wanted. Then once one batch settled, and it was great. And so I got the new batch, and I put on him, and he said, "Oh, this feels different."
Wow.
Okay. And I checked the backside. So body was really like a tiny bit thicker. And he could sense that kind of difference.
Wow.
So
that's impressive.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it would be one hair off. I'm like, I don't have it set on yet. Wait a minute.
Right. Yeah.
We had that. It's like, now let me do the fine tuning and adjusting, and like that hair is supposed to be on this stuff. It's great. We were all on the same page. Though. It was not obnoxious. It was like I was happy to have that, and I have always been happy that he's been that way.
Yeah. And so, we normally hope that we get to the end of a project and we've learned some lessons. So what's something like a standout lesson that you felt you learned by the end of the shoot?
Well, for me, I want to be if I'm putting a wig on someone first thing in the morning, I want to be there at least an hour before going through.
You want more prep time. That's what you want, Lori.
I want my tweezers. I could pull each hair into place and have that, have that. Yeah, I want more prep time. And it really made a difference. It really made a difference to me on this one.
Yeah.
But also, that wig had to go on in a very short amount of time for me. And then he was off to work. And if I didn't have it put on right at the beginning, you couldn't really chase him around too much. He always is polite enough to give you the work that you need to do to get it right, but don't touch him if he doesn't need it. And I didn't touch him much because he didn't need it.
Yeah.
So working with Bradley is it was like an education, because he's such a great communicator. And so I really enjoyed working with all crews he picked, and because he really showed what the possibility, how great the production will be, and we had the best people in each department, and so it was like a big family. And how he communicated with everybody, and he was really open and honest, and so that was kind of what the lesson I learned is, it's important to work with the best people, and just being honest and open about everything. It's because of collaboration, a filmmaking is a collaboration, and that process he taught me a lot about what would be the best way to work with on the film. And I
love that.
I think it's very true what both Kazi and Laurie have said. And I think the only thing I can add to it is, as I said earlier, quite often there would be a character that we would only think we were going to see in the 40s, and then they'd suddenly show up in the 50s or the 60s. And my first reaction would be, well, they've only got one wig and it's only going to do this, and that's the end of it. And just when you think you've been pushed as far as you can go, sure enough, you can always be pushed a little bit further. And it's amazing what will come out of that, how well people, will respond to that. And, I worked with such fantastic hairdressers. I had Jameson Eaton and Jimmy Good and Amanda Duffy Evans, and they were really sublime. They really pulled all the stops out, and however hard the day was and whatever you asked of them, they delivered. They were pretty amazing.
You did have a great team, Kay.
Yeah, they were smashing. Really, they were.
And speaking of teams, we all know it takes a team. So did you guys want to take a moment to give a shout out to those that helped you on the project?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'd like to give credit and thanks to Jameson Eaton, Jimmy Good, and Amanda Duffy Evans, and Lou Shepherd, who ran the crowd department in the UK, Amanda Duffy Evans, who ran the hair department in New York, and Jameson and Jimmy, who were fantastic hairdressers, all a fantastic department, excellent hairdressers. And the wig makers that were involved in this production were Martial Conneville, Peter Owen, Jessica Lalande, and Helena Collection. Thank you so much.
Yes. So there are many, but Megan Longmire was my assistant for the whole show. And she was helping me to, because there's a part like setting up the station and organize everything. And she's a great assistant. And Mike McCash and Mike Fontaine and Vivian Baker was helping me at the beginning. And Richard Ledrifson and Glenn Griffin was also assistant for the additional filming. And wig maker Diana Choi and Vanessa Lee was helping me to make suits. And Vincent Van Dyke and Vincent's crew, he was a big part because I've been working with them like the last probably 5 or 6 years. They are the one I trust, and they always make mold and cast pieces for me.
Amazing. I love it.
I just want, I want to thank Kazu and Kay and Sean and the whole hair and makeup team for being so supportive and being lovely to work side by side with. And Megan was great for helping me as well, ordering things and, when she could, and walking my dog.
Well, makeup designer Sean Grigg, she was phenomenal.
Yeah, Duncan German too, like a Sean Grigg and the Duncan German, they're really inspiring makeup artists. It's like really great.
Absolutely. I love that. Okay, guys. Well, a massive congratulations again. Enjoy the ride. And thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.